So if you're using AI coding tools and you feel like you're spending more time fixing what they build than actually building, there's something you should know about, and it's called SpecKit. By the end of this video, I'll use it with Gemini CLI to build a real working app and show you exactly what this makes a different approach. But why SpecKit and what exactly it is? Let's understand it in a very simple way. So when you prompt Gemini CLI, it makes a plan, right? It'll provide you what are the steps and then it will build the thing after your approval, which is pretty good. But the problem is the plan only lives in the chat. Next session, it's gone. Your architect cannot open the plan. Your team cannot review it. It was really a thought, not an artifact. That's the gap SpecKit actually fills. Every step, your rules, your spec, your plans, your tasks gets written to disk as .md files or markdown files. It lives in your repo and then it can be reviewed by your teams. And really, this is how the engineering teams should be building. So if I expand on what SpecKit is, it's a small CLI tool from GitHub. You install it once, run specify init in your project, and then Gemini CLI, or for that matter, any other agent, will get 4 new slash commands. Each one writes a markdown file to the disk. Each file builds on the last one. So there are 4 pieces to this puzzle, right? And each one does a very specific job. The first one is the constitution. I don't know who named it, but it is what it is. And this is, think of it as the constitution because it's a rule book, right? So you can say that, hey, I want you to use TypeScript, no frameworks. So basically you're setting the rules once, right? And then Gemini follows them every time it touches your code. Then comes the spec itself, right? This is what you want to build in plain English, not how, but what. You describe the outcome. And then Gemini writes a proper spec and then asks clarifying questions before moving on. Then is the plan, and that's where the tech stack comes in. So Gemini will turn your spec into an architecture, file structure, and dependencies, all of those things, right? Respecting the constitution, the rule book. And lastly, the task, which is a dependency ordered checklist. Set up the structure first and then the logic, then the styling. And by the time Gemini writes a single line of code, all of these 4 files will already exist in your repo. Constitution, spec, plans, and tasks. Something very similar to what anti-gravity does, but I'm talking about Gemini CLI or the coding agent, the CLI agents right now, right? So what I want to do now is actually show you how to build and leverage this. But before we get into it, a quick disclaimer, all opinions are my own and do not belong to my employer. All right, with that, let's get into it. All right, so now I'm in anti-gravity and I'm going to be using the PowerShell from here. And again, the only reason I'm doing this is because I want you to see when the files are getting created, okay? So the first thing I'm going to do is install the SpecKit. So this is the particular command which actually does that. So we are seeing it live and it's going to install all of the things necessary. And once it is done, then we will go ahead and create a demo folder for this particular project, right? I'm going to create a new folder, which is demo. And then I'm just going to go into this particular folder. So I'm just going to clear the screen so that it is going to be very clear. Now, within this, so now you can see that the demo folder has been created, but there are no files in it, right? So I'm going to initialize this and I'm going to say that integration is Gemini. And as soon as I initialize this, you can see that the specify, basically the GitHub SpecKit is here, right? So the project is this, the working path is this. And of course, it identified that I'm using PowerShell. So I'm just going to click on enter. And you can see very quickly the things that it has created live, right? These are all the different extensions that it has created. And these are all the different files. You can see the constitution, plan, task, all the files that we had discussed before are already created, right? So now what I'm going to do is I'm actually now going to call the Gemini CLI. So what should happen now is Gemini CLI should get all of these additional slash commands available as part of the Gemini CLI itself. That's the thing which changes here, right? So if I do this now and just start typing spec, you can see all of the different possible commands which are already available, right? All right, so the first thing we're going to do is set up the constitution, basically the rule books that my team will be using. And you can see that in a single file, no external dependencies, code should be clean and readable, etc. Right? So I'm going to be giving this particular, so this will create the rule book that we would need. So we'll give it a second for it to be able to create that. And then once it is done, then we will go ahead and actually work on the other elements of it. So look at what Gemini actually created, right? So it has created the full constitution file version 1.0, and you can see it in the memory over here. So this is what it has actually written, has given the principles and all of those things, which is very detailed, right? So this was not existing before, and these are all the additional things that it is offering me, right? So it is saying that, hey, would you like to do the commit now? I'm going to skip it for the moment, and then I'm going to actually go ahead and ask it to build, right? So now I'm going to give it this particular command, which is build a Pomodoro timer as a single HTML app. It should have a 25-minute timer and a 5-minute break, right? So now what it should do is it should follow the constitution and it should start writing the spec and then take the next steps, right? So we are now actually looking into a very good structural approach of how to build software using AI and AI agents. All right, so it has completed building the specification file, and you can see that it provides you a detailed summary. And here is where it actually created this spec.md as well, right? So you can see what it has created, and it provides everything that is required. And it has also made sure that it is matched to the constitution. So this is another one that it was able to create. Now, what we will do now is we will go ahead and actually build this. So now we need to provide the technical stack, as I mentioned, right? So now I'm going to be using SpecKit.plan, and then it should be using both the specifications as well as the constitution in order to come up with this, right? So we'll give it a second, and then we'll come back and we will see what will be the next step from here. And as I'm already doing this, you can already see that it has started to write this particular implementation plan already. So you can see that in action. So we'll give it a few seconds, and then we'll come back and see what it has produced. All right, so you can see now that it has created this implementation plan, and it has actually generated 4 different artifacts, right? Research, data model, quick start, and the README file. So you can see all of those things actually listed over here. So this is the data model piece, and it gives exactly how the different transitions will happen. It's very detailed. We also have the quickstart.md, which is pretty fantastic. We also have the research file, and of course, we have seen the spec already, right? So very interesting to see the way we are able to develop and change and plan this, right? So you have all of these artifacts now really well available. And then once you're satisfied, then you can go ahead and see SpecKit.implement, and this will basically go ahead and implement the exact plan that it has created with the technical architecture, keeping the spec in mind, and of course, the constitution, which is the rule book, right? So we'll give it a few seconds for it to finish building this, and then we'll come back and show you what it has produced. Now, I'm not really focused on producing something really beautiful and stuff like that. The focus was really more around a very engineering way to approach leveraging Gemini CLI in order to build software, right? So I think what you're seeing on the screen is just beautiful because you're seeing a lot of different artifacts which are being produced, and then you can go ahead and change the artifacts and get approvals and stuff like that instead of just building something completely based on a one single memory chat. So we'll give it a few seconds, and then we'll come back on to show you what it has produced. All right, so it has completed building this, and it is saying that it has been fully implemented in a single file application. So it has done all of the phases. An application is ready, and you can already see that it is over here, which is index.html. This in the file folder, and if I open, this is the application, right? So I click on start, and there you go, it starts working, and then I can start again, reset. So as I mentioned before, right, I don't really care about how beautiful the application is and the complexity of the application. What I care about right now is the approach and the structure that it took. And that is really what I wanted to share with you guys today, right? So this is SpecKit plus Gemini CLI. And now whenever you go back to Gemini CLI, you have all of these details available, right? So you have a good understanding of what's your data model, what was the plan, what was the specification, what were the different tasks which were done. So what you could do is now hand this spec.md to the actual product manager, and they can actually like specify if there is something else that they want to do, right? So now you've got like a full blown multiple artifacts available for you to be able to run this, and then you are able to actually build the end-to-end application. So that's what I really wanted to cover. Please let me know if you have any questions on the comment section, and do definitely let me know if you liked the video. And if you did, please hit that like button. And if you're new to the channel, please hit subscribe as well. Thank you very much for your time. Thank you for watching, and I will see you in the next one.